What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of the Peacock original series Twisted Metal. This will follow season 2, episode 3, which is called Test Drive and is directed by Benz. Oh my god, we finally have it. Axel is now in the series. Where he leads off, we don't entirely know because he's fighting Mr. Grimm. But we finally have Axel. And the way he's introduced is awesome because this series finally has a cool moment. It finally has the moment that everybody's been waiting for, because I know people like different characters from Twisted Metal, but Axel is the most audacious. He's the most insane. Yes, Mr. Grimm can take souls from people, which is very, demonic and stuff like that. But Axel is a man who has giant wheels in his hands that he controls. And in this episode, we finally get introduced to him as a character. But before we get to all that, I do have to make a correction. I called the young woman that's introduced in the second episode Dollface, but that's actually John's sister. The character that's introduced is named Mayhem. I'll put like a subtitle credit correction or whatever in the last episode I reviewed. But yeah, Mayhem and of course Quiet have their moment in this episode and start to form a relationship. And this episode is all about the characters going off in different directions. We of course have Ashley and Jeremy. Poor Ashley and Jeremy, rest in peace. Go off to find supplies and do what they call baking bread, which is a code word for having sex. It's pretty funny. But the way it happens it's really funny. But basically what I thought was going to happen was John and Quiet were going to go off and have an adventure, but that's not how this episode plays out. What ends up happening in this episode is Quiet and John are talking, and Quiet brings up that he needs to have a relationship with his sister. They've been gone for 20 years, and he doesn't want to do that. It's awkward, blah, 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 blah. What does Quiet do? Kicks him out. She kicks him out of the car, and it's a pretty good gag where Quiet goes off and drives off in Evelyn, and the next car comes up is actually Dollface, which is John's sister, and Dollface kicks Ashley out of the car. And lets John get in the car, and they speed off because they're going to go off to some adventure that everybody's splitting off. Of course, Quiet is going to go off to a water tower to be to watch, and John and Dollface are going to go off to an adventure. Jeremy pulls up. Ashley's like, "I'm not doing this with you," and Jeremy gets in the car, or Ashley gets in the car. They go off and have an adventure. But I like that gag. I think it's very, very funny. I think it's very humorous because it's like one car, somebody gets kicked out, another car. It's pretty funny. But basically we're getting like two different stories outside of the Jeremy and Ashley stuff. We are getting basically Quiet goes to, and she realizes that Mayhem's in the car, and it scares her because there's a funny gag where Quiet has a CD of the Metallica, one of the Metallica CDs, and it ends up being the Michelle Branch CD. It has everything, the Everything song. It's really funny because Quiet really likes that song and she sings to it. And then Mayhem scares the hell out of her. And it basically becomes like a driving lesson for Mayhem because Mayhem's like this cocksured, very annoying individual. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to enter into the tournament and I'm going to win." And Quiet's like, "Do you really think you're going to, like, this is only one winner. It's like the Hunger Games or something like that." But it ends up working out where they, Mayhem learns how to drive. And there's a great sequence through most of this episode where Mayhem's terrible at driving. She's a young person. She has never driven before. And, watching Quiet, berate her and teach her, but also make fun of her. Watching Mayhem just kind of, not know how to work the car. It's really funny stuff. But it's like a good kind of way John and Quiet in the first season kind of started to gain a relationship. It's a way for them to be irreverent and goofy and over the top and silly, but also have some heart to it because Quiet is an individual that, had a brother she talks about. Of course, we know he was killed in the very first episode of the series. And, about how, he was just not really a good person, but it seems like Mayhem could be a really good person for Quiet in a lot of respects. And it really feels like Mayhem is actually hiding something. She keeps claiming that her boyfriend or whatever lives in whatever, but I think there's more to it than that, which I'm sure we'll find out later on. But what's great about that scene is just kind of the relationship that's forming, the dimension, the stuff that, helps characters and their kind of chemistry in a lot of respects. And I do appreciate that. So that's a lot of funny stuff, a lot of great stuff that happens in that. I'll get to the ending of their story in just a second when I talk about John and Dollface. But John and Dollface actually go to the Millennium Drive-In Theater, where, of course, Dollface and John once went. They have conversations inside the, of course, inside the drive-in, and there's a lot of animosity that John has about the simple fact that what's the point of remembering anything when it's just weight on his shoulders? He doesn't have to have the weight on his shoulders. He doesn't have to remember his sister or his parents. All he sees is, you know, the pictures in the room, and they have a great kind of jokey, but also kind of a heartfelt discussion about the Babysitters Club and how that kind of wraps around into John's kind of psyche about relationships and how people form and stuff like that. I just love like the back and forth. I love they smoke some marijuana, and then, you know, it's just kind of a nice thing. And John's like really upset by the fact that she keeps pushing him to try and remember things. And then that's when the shooting starts happening, and then, you know, the car gets destroyed and things get destroyed, and, you know, John and of course Dollface try to escape, and then they're blasted back by sonic waves and stuff like that. And that's when we're introduced to Axel's this buff guy. He's muscular. He has giant wheels for where his hands go, and he has 2 Gatling guns on the bottom of his car or vehicle or whatever, and he is shooting at them. He is trying to kill them, and they find a way to hide out while Axel looks for him. And that design of Axel is awesome. It's 2 gigantic wheels. We find out why Axel is the way he is, why he's kind of in the way he is. And as we kind of move through the segment, we see that Axel can, you know, remove his hands from the big tires. He goes over, he drinks some fuel, which is pretty funny because it almost feels like it could be like beer or water or something like that. When he drinks the fuel, he puts lidocaine on his shoulders. But that's the irreverent kind of funny humor about the show, is they'll have a guy that has gigantic muscles and he has gigantic wheels that he uses as a car, and then he'll put lidocaine and drink fuel. And that's just funny. And then, you know, they find out why Axel is able to drive wheels like he is, because he's sort of part of a Project Axel situation. And then there's this white guy, it's really funny. It's a really funny joke, and it's meant to be funny, but it's a racist joke. And not like a racist joke, but it's a joke about racism where, of course, this doctor takes hostage Dollface. And there was a scene earlier I forgot to talk about where Dollface like stitches up her because John shoots at Axel, and then ricochets and hits Dollface, and she actually stitches back up, which is pretty funny. But the doctor started this project because why can't we just beat cars and drive? And he's like, and John goes, "Is this a black thing? Is there a reason that guy's black? Are you racist?" And I was laughing because it's very funny, because it's like, yeah, it's like. And he's like, no, research doesn't see color. And it's like, dude, the guy's a muscular black guy and he has big tires. And he might be a little racist. It's pretty funny. I laugh. I thought I had a good time. But they killed the doctor by knocking him through the window, and he's, you know, impaled or whatever. And then they turn down the power. And probably the thing that made me laugh the most is Axel is now in his vehicle. He approaches John. John starts to talk to him, and of course, because the vehicle is loud and diesel, the guy that's Axel goes, "What did you say?" And he's like, use your big boy voice. And then, of course, Dollface screams, you know, "You're free to go." He's like, "Thank effing God. I hate that MFer, blah, blah, blah." And then he drives off, and it leads like straight into the Quiet and Mayhem stuff where Mr. Grimm has killed Ashley, and Jeremy's running towards Mayhem and Quiet, and then his soul is taken. I love the stuff at the beginning of this episode with Mr. Grimm because it explains his powers. It explains he's able to kill people. So basically he's like the Grim Reaper. He takes the souls, and you see kind of the effects of him taking souls. He like encumbers like the mannerisms of the character. So you see him like kind of you can see him and kind of envelop Jeremy's character, and poor Jeremy, that guy had no luck and whatnot. But Mr. Grimm like drives after of course Mayhem and Quiet to take their souls, and that's when Axel comes in to save the day, and him and Grimm fight, and then of course Quiet and Mayhem drive off and sing Michelle Branch because of how crazy the scenario is. But the only thing I wish I could have seen is just more Grimm and more in Grimm and Axel's fight. Once again, it doesn't really tell you if Axel and Grimm are going to be in the Twisted Metal tournament. It just their characters are well beloved and introduced, and we'll see how it plays out. I'm sure they will be, because you can't have a character like Axel, introduce him and just have one episode with him. You have to have multiple episodes, because I'm assuming that vehicle is quite expensive to build. I mean, it's not. It looks like it's practical. So I mean, not practically the way it's used, the practical, the fact that it looks like it's a physical piece of machinery in a lot of respects. But we'll see how that plays out. But it all leads to the conclusion where they bury Ashley and Jeremy or whatever, and then they are looking onto Diesel City, which is where they're going to take stuff that they need. And I'm assuming that's where the next episode is going to lie, is them going into Diesel City. But yeah, that's the episode. It's, you know, my going into like the final wrap up of the episode, it is a really entertaining episode. It is where I think the series has its strengths in being goofy, being irreverent, being over the top, being silly, but also having cool action sequences. This actually completely dishevels what happens in the last episode, because of what, you know, Mr. Grimm and what Axel are capable of with their characters, how cool their characters look, the action sequences feel more well put together, feel more justified. It's a lot of good stuff that is being shown, and why Twisted Metal works when it works and how well it can work. And I love this episode. I really do. I love everything about it. I love the kind of relationship between Quiet and Mayhem. I like the relationships between John and Dollface. I love Axel. I love Mr. Grimm. I love everything about it. And it really feels like a very well put together episode that has a lot of great stuff. So overall, fantastic episode. That is season 2, episode 3, Test Drive. And I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10, because it's not perfect. I mean, it is still a kind of lower budgeted series, so there is some weirdness to the series, but 9.5 out of 10 is this episode, and I really loved it. So overall, that's my take on season 2, episode 3 of Twisted Metal. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. That is the last episode for this week. I do appreciate you following through and watching these episodes and reviews. I do appreciate it. But in the comments below, what did you think about the introduction to Axel? What do you think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you think this episode, and where do you think they're eventually going to go with the tournament? So we'll see the next 2 episodes when they release a week from now. But yeah, there you go. That is my take on the episode, so I do appreciate it. If you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.